Okay, I'm continuing with this tow hitch arrangement. Now the version I've done, I can't do exactly the same as the original. If you look at this original one, the way it works is it's made out of round bar which has been worked in a forge presumably, and it's basically a tow ring with two right angles in it. Now I can't do this, but what I did manage to get hold of, you saw in the last video, was a large eye bolt. Now what I've done is I've fixed my eye bolt to some flat bar now. Now the reason this thing is configured the way it is here is this swings into two positions. There's a little latch which operates over here, and when you release this locking pin, the eye swings round that way and comes up to the top. So the eye swings up and sticks up. I'll show you in some photos. Okay, so because this eye sits in two positions, either down or upwards, I've decided to have a go at making my own version of this, and this is what I've done. Okay, I've configured this in flat bar. You can see I've had to weld it here because I couldn't bend the flat bar without having a blacksmith's forge. Now what I've done is I've arranged it, and I've made this bracket out of 1/4 inch steel plate which was left over from the shield, and I've got a pin arrangement in it. So basically I can slide this pin out, drop it out the center, then I can slide this flat bar out that way and rotate it over. Then I can put it back in and put the pin back, and the tow hitch will be upwards instead of downwards. Anyway, I'm not going to take that out right at the moment because I'm just about to drill 2 holes all the way through the box section here to put high tensile M12 bolts through. Now I imagine I'd probably get away with just having these 2 M12 high tensile bolts, but I may also weld it on 3 sides just to make sure this plate's well secure. It's belt and braces basically. I would think this pin that I've put in the middle will be good enough. I think it's a high tensile bolt which has been chopped down, and it's about 16mm, so that should do the job. Okay, so once it's fitted on with the bolts, it should look like that. Now I haven't welded it down, well, not yet anyway. I may not weld it down in fact, but I'll have a think about that, possibly overnight, make a decision, but one way or the other it doesn't really matter. You can see how this thing looks when it's in its upright position and not pointing down. So basically this is how you would put it if you were using the gun, I presume, so that the spades, as these are actually called, bed down into the ground properly. So that is brought up into its top position. As I say, this thing here is the pin I'm using to hold it. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, it's one of these gadgets. So basically you can pop that through there and this goes underneath. It's just a piece of well, you can see what it is, and that's held on with a split pin. Yeah, I was going to get another one of these and just weld it on the underneath and use a chain, you know, but I found this lying around in the house. It's off one of the tow hitch fasteners, you know, couplings off one of my cars, so it was going spare. So that pulls over that, and then that goes up underneath and comes up through the hole. As I say, it's a bit of a tight fit, but it will wear in eventually. Anyway, I won't worry about that for the moment. Now, the other thing I was working on was, of course, this fastening here. So that's the other thing which I've just been doing some jobs on. And you can see how it's come out down there now. Yeah, so it's not looking too bad now. What I did was I just cut the whole pivot point off that piece of scaffolding and just welded that down rather than taking the pin off it. It was a bit pointless to do that and then make another mounting, wasn't it? So I've just sawn that off the scaffold joint and welded that down onto the box section there, and I've made this eye nut just out of the other nut which was on the scaffold piece, and I've welded a piece of stainless steel bar round. Then I've made this hook system here to try and make it look something similar, if I turn it that way, something similar to the original. Mine's probably a little bit larger, which I'm alright with. I don't mind it being bigger. So yeah, so if I haven't welded this down or anything yet, basically that swings off the hook there, and this is how it works. Yeah, so it's a nice big hook system. So these are stainless steel 6mm bolts, M6 bolts. Hopefully they should be strong enough to do this job. So that's going to be going down there. This is obviously adjustable by using the nut system there, so you can wind that up and down if you want to get more tension on it. In the end, I have decided to weld this up. So as I said right at the start, it's belt and braces approach. So it's bolted with M12 bolts and it's welded. I've also welded this catch housing down as well, and as you can see, it's all painted up at the moment. This is a new can of paint and it's slightly glossy. I think there's too much plasticizer or something in this can, so it's a slightly glossy shade instead of the matte that the likes of the barrel has on it, but that's not a problem. So I've got various bits which are being painted at the moment. There's the eye bolt toe ring component. You can see I put a fairly hefty weld underneath there to make sure it holds the weight. As I say, the gun will be about around about 250 kilos. It won't be any more than 300 because the real one was 350 if I remember right, so you know, it's not having a real barrel on it. Now, say there's other bits I've got hanging up drying. That's the the hook I've made for the well, to go with this. That's the hook that fits inside of there. Okay, other part that I'm working on. This is the recoil tube, as you've probably seen before, and this is the widened section which I made out of the bird scarer barrel. Now you can see I've painted it and then I've gone backwards, I've burned paint away, and I've welded an extra plate on the side of here. And what I'm doing is I've put, this is 4 inches long, this plate, by 7 centimeters, whatever that is, in it's probably near 3 inches, just touch under, about 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch under 3 inches. Yeah, so basically I've welded this heavy 6mm plate on the side of here, and basically what I'm doing is I'm putting 2 tapped holes in, which are M10, and basically this is going to hold, where are we now? This component, you can't see it too well here. I might supply some pictures into the video, but basically there's like a shield which has all these holes in. It's a very sort of typical 37mm gun. That makes it stand out with the American one. You know, it has this steel shield which probably extends out. I'm not sure of sizes yet, I've still got to calculate that. It could be around 12 to 18 inches long maybe. So that's got to be made, and it seems to guard the gun, the aiming guy. Don't know if they're one in the same, but the fella who's operating the gun, operating the traverse and elevation, is on this side of the shield and is guarded using that shield. Is guarded from the breech area. Exactly why he would need to be guarded from the breech area, I'm not sure. Maybe there's some problem with. Oh, I understand. Yeah, just thinking on as I'm going here. The gun would obviously recoil, so that is to protect him, protect his arm and so on as the gun recoils. So yeah, that's obviously the reason, because he would stay here adjusting the gun between shots. Now presumably there would be someone on the other side of it who would actually fire it. Anyway, I've never seen one actually getting fired, so that would be interesting. Okay, so I'm going to get on with this bit. I think I probably showed you how I did this other part. That's 3mm steel box which I fixed round in like half a square, and fixed it in, profiled it in with the tubing. So if I look underneath, you can see there's the other side, and that's what I've welded this hinge here on for that box coupling for the traverse lock. Okay, so I'll get on with these. While I'm waiting for some of the paint to dry on a few of the other bits, I thought I'd have a go at messing around with these you know, the mounting plates for the Trunnion blocks. So I thought, well, to save a bit of time, what I'll do is I'll just bend some out of some stainless steel plate, as you can see I've done there. Then what I've done is I've got a couple of M8 nuts and I've ground them on an angle. Obviously the problem is, if I try putting a standard M8 bolt down through here and into the Trunnion block that mounts underneath on the carriage, the hole is so close to where the pinion is that I can't actually rotate the bolt down and secure it, so I need to build this level up. So what I've done is I've got a couple of M8 nuts and I've put a ground the end, ground one shoulder on them, and then I've put a bolt up through the plate I've made to secure it, and then I've just gone round this with a welder to build the shape up. You can spend as long as you want doing this. If you want to make it all lovely and square, just build it up and file it back, but I'm not going to waste too much time on it. You can see I've just quickly done that with a welder, and that's how it's come out. I'll do a little bit of filing on it maybe. Now just got to do the other side. Yeah, so basically that's the idea. Once I've welded them all up, I just drilled right through the nut which are mounted on, and then I can just bolt them down and put it in position. So that looks okay. That's the two sides done. Okay, the paint's still a little bit tacky, but there's the tow I fitted, link in there. As I say, the paint's still a little bit tacky. Should really have waited another day, but that basically slides together like so. Bring that over, hook goes into that eye bolt there, press that down, and then this locking pin goes across like so, and then there's a small locking pin which goes in like that. So they should not come apart. Well, it's starting to come along quite good now. Until I put the fasteners to hold the lower shield on, I've decided that I'll put some chains on from this point here down to the shield, just using some eye bolts and some whatever those fasteners are called. They should do the job for now. Eventually I'll weld the other catches on the front. Yeah, I actually think these are a good idea to have on, because they'll add an extra degree of safety when I'm towing it. You see, this point here is actually using an M8 eye bolt, and it's the same point that anchors back onto the yoke, as this is called, as I know now. Yeah, so this part which holds the gun, the main gun, and actually traverses and so on and elevates That's called the yoke. Now other parts, yeah, so as I say, they're bolted on. They're just 20mm galvanised pipe. That's the zinc etch primer on. And you can see they're bolted there. Basically what I did was I welded an M8 nut inside the end of the piping. You can see where it's a little bit rough around the edge there. So I've just welded an M8 nut in, drilled a hole in here and bolted it. I think the original ones have done something like that. Yeah, so it's starting to come together quite well now. I've also made a decision that I think this unit I've made with the angle grinder, while I think it was a potentially not a bad idea to utilise some old scrap, I think it's a little bit too light in terms of its strength for the actual job. So I've decided to have a go at modifying this old jack, which I've shown you in a previous video. So what I'm starting to do is I'm sawing these two legs off the unit first, and the other thing I've done is I stuck this in a vise, well, in this vise, clamped that part in a vise, and I've bent the whole unit back against it to try and straighten this arm slightly, because if you remember, this arm here kinked right down here very sharply, which meant the angle that was presented there was very poor to try and fix to. And what I intend to do is fit one of these universal joints on there. I think the real gun has a universal joint in about that position as well. So I might get the welder, weld around that actual round bar there, and then file it square so that it fits into that socket. Then I might drill a hole right through the socket and the bar and put a split pin through it, so that it performs quite a solid joint. and save welding this on like I did last time. I just square that bar off, fit that on and put a split pin in. So I'm going to get modifying this, chopping all the excess scrap metal off until I've just got the main tube running up in the centre with this arm fitted on it that winds up and down. Right, so see how I go. Okay, I've cut all the junk off this and I've now welded a piece of conduit onto here. It's whatever this the thinner bore is. It's probably about 16 millimeters. Let's see. It's about 19, I think, actually. It's about 19 millimeter, that piping. So basically mounting that on there, then I've got the other piece which I've removed, which is here. So I'm basically going to take a section of this thread out of this this part off the screw, and I'm going to mount that into a piece of the wider bore conduit, and that is going to basically slide over the top of this one, and it's going to move up and down. I only need about 1.5 inches of travel on this thing to get the elevation I need for the gun. So we'll see how I go on with that.